Shalom. I was going to stream by myself, and then my dear friend Michael Sartori said he was going to stream. I was like, ooh, there's absolutely nobody I would rather have on the stream with me. Um, I'll try to be really brief because I'm guessing we were going to stream about similar things, right? The whole Charlie Kirk reaction and the various things people have been saying.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of thought maybe more just to open it up for more people that wanted to talk. So I didn't have like specific. I mean, there's so many dimensions that can be discussed. I didn't really have a specific angle, but
Well, I do want to leave it open for people to talk, and unfortunately, people have gotten the impression out of me that I am not the type of person to let people say their bit, and I hope that's not true. But um, the thing was, I was listening to Luke's stream, and it was just so different in a very, very, very disappointing way from Christian Baxter's stream.
mm,
Christian stream was a bunch of young, capable people talking about real stuff. Luke's stream reminded me of this kind of joke. By the way, happy birthday, Kirk. Kirk just turned 18 today.
happy
Uh,
birthday.
the um, the like first he starts with a completely incoherent word jumble, which I understood the words, but I don't think he understood what he was saying, much less was communicating. Um, and then he said something that just blew my mind away and made me really, really angry, which is anger is left brain. And that's why I named this the spirit of lobotomy. I almost called it half my brain. Um, there is this, I mean, just listening to people. So there is, when I was in yeshiva, there was a type of joke that the rabbis would use no, anger is not left brain. There are people who think that anything that comes from your left brain is evil, and therefore you should lobotomize yourself. And therefore, anything they don't like, they press to left brain. But anger is most definitely not left brain. That's just not understanding what you're talking about. Um, but the the joke is a professor of ethics was found doing something disgusting, and people said to him, "How could you possibly do this? You're a professor of ethics." And his response was, "If I were a professor of mathematics, would you expect me to be a triangle?" And that is how we saw the difference between a yeshiva and a university, right? And frankly, in our Jordan Peterson sphere terms, we're talking about whether you have propositional knowledge of something or a full knowledge, which includes the participatory, procedural, and perspectival knowledge of it, right? A full knowledge of something requires that you actually be able to act and you actually be able to think about things and for it to actually penetrate you. And I haven't watched the video. I was actually thinking about watching the video of what are their names? Jordan Daniel Wood and JD Leinhart, where apparently they found out about Charlie Kirk dying in real time, And Nick, who I trust very much, says that their reaction was completely objectionable and disastrous. And Nate, who I trust not at all, says it was perfectly appropriate and fine. And I was sitting him say, you cannot tell people what their reactions should be, and Nick's reaction to their reaction is absolutely horrible. And how dare he? And it was, oh my God, like talk about an unintegrated theory of self. I am going to let you speak, but I did want to read 2 poems before we start, and then I will let you speak. First poem, Charles Mackay. This is one of my favorites. Margaret Thatcher apparently had it memorized. She carried it with her, and she is one of my saints. So this is by Charles Mackay. You have no enemies, you say. Alas, my friend, the boast is poor. He who has mingled in the fray of duty that the brave endure must have had foes. If you have none, small is the work that you have done. You have hit no traitor on the hip. You've dashed no cup from perjured lip. You've never turned the wrong to right. You've been a coward in the fight. And the Second Coming by Yeats has one of my favorite lines in it. Where is the actual poem? I thought the actual poem would be here. Here it is.
Look it up.
Here.
Oh.
Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosened upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are those words out when a vast image of the Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in the sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun is moving its slow thighs, while all about it real shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of steepy stony sleep were vexed to a nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. Frankly, I think that beast is the beast of anarchy and ridiculous intensity and, frankly, lobotomy. And that's my monologue. Thank you for bearing through that, Michael. Thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, so I'm sure you also heard my contribution to that that stream, and I thought, like it is. I mean, I think that it's good to have understanding that some of these things take time for people to come to grips with, and it's unfortunate that. Well, let's see. Like even a lot of people have had to take back things they've said. Like Stephen King got himself in pretty bad trouble, and
I do have to apologize. I initially thought it was a boomer who murdered him. And it was not a boomer who murdered him. It was somebody who was a disciple of boomers who murdered him. But go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, obviously there's. I mean, people. It seems like everybody kind of has a checklist, or this is the way checklist of how you navigate life and your social interactions and how you judge other people, and we have a really big problem. The tribalistic echo chamber kind of thing is bad, but even people, you don't even know. Sometimes people who maybe seem more open-minded in some things, we all probably have some corner where we want to write somebody off immediately. And, because, and I think I was thinking about this, like, I think maybe like Charlie Kirk might be the perfect a martyr for this digital age. Because you think so, I put a little thing on X, looking at like JFK, RFK, MLK, and those guys obviously have far from perfect lives, serious flaws in some of their personal character, but they were very important for the symbolic representation, and they came to be known and die in a time when we had very limited. We could only get very small glimpses of public figures, so people would see the public facing view of those men, the speeches that they give, and each of them. And I put pictures. So I put pictures of each of them with their families, their wives and children. And I think, and whether whether some of that was orchestrated or it was individuals that do it, it really doesn't matter. Like, I think that it's a satanic impulse that wanted to destroy those men because of the image that they represented, which was strong, healthy masculinity, married men with children, charismatic, idealistic type people that you would, because for all of them, it's their life is cut short. They should have accomplished more. And Charlie Kirk, you can easily say the same thing about, but I think it seems that the more people dig in, I mean, he's basically been a public figure since high school,
or yes, since he was 17.
Yeah, and he has lived with a lot of integrity, and I think this is a problem. Like, so I've seen this split going in two ways. Like, on the one side is like there's people for whom the political is the primary thing. And therefore, it's like, well, you talk about politics, that's part of that goes with the territory that, maybe, like you said, like the people that are saying like, well, he said these things and therefore it's reasonable for him to have, maybe not say it's reasonable for him to have gotten shot, but that like,
well, he sinned against their God for the people who are very political. Yeah. Dr. Shara would love to hear your thoughts.
And then I feel, so then on the other side, because I have so much like normie Christian feed, and you saw the thing that my pastor said, and he was trying, and we have a pretty, we have somewhat of a mixed congregation politically, so I think he was trying to do a delicate thing, but like, his thing of like, like he, trying to separate politics from the religious, like, and it also doesn't really work. Really, like so some people have like politics is public and my religion is private. Other people, my religion is private because I'm in ministry, and then politics is private.
Well, okay, that's different. If you occupy a position, right? Like if my rabbi actually talked about Charlie Kirk, even if it was, I mean, there were certain things my rabbi talks with me privately that he would never say, even in a quasi-informal thing, because, like, his position is to be there to represent Judaism, right? And, I mean, I keep on going back to the to the discussion that Rod Hare had with Mark Parker, and it absolutely kills me that Paul Vanderklay keeps on missing the point and everybody who I talk to who misses the point, which is some people, which too many people do. Like Mark Parker's whole thing was, in order to be a good Christian, you have to agree with MSNBC, right? Rachel Maddow is the best Christian in the world, right? And I genuinely felt bad for Rod when he said, I am sad for what this means for our friendship. I tried to go back and get that actual clip. I remember he definitely said, this means that we're going to have less interaction. And that was Rod very kindly saying, you're not the person who I thought you were. I can't, I'm not going to let you manipulate me the way you admit you are going to manipulate me. Right? I was actually talking to a young man who's a Catholic. Oh, by the way, apparently the highest ranking royal Her Royal Highness Catherine, Duchess of Kent, passed away yesterday, I guess. There's going to be a royal funeral that Father Hugh, anybody who remembers Father Hugh, he was involved a little bit. I did an interview with him. He's actually, it's going to be at his cathedral. He's going to be part of the ceremony. And there's a link on my Discord. So I just thought it was appropriate to talk about. But, and yes, Rod, what pained me about PVK constantly talking about Rod and Mark's discussion the way he did was the lack of acknowledgement of Rod and the full acknowledgement of that narcissist psychopath, Mark Parker, I would say. You don't have to agree with me. But today on Luke's stream, he just proved what kind of psychopath he is, I believe, because he's like, no, to be a Christian is to be a psychopath. He actually said that. But I was talking to a Christian, to a Catholic, newfound Catholic, right? And, you know, I think he was a little surprised that I was encouraging him with his rosaries, right? It's like, no, I don't believe in saying rosaries. I don't believe that, praising the Virgin Mary is a good thing. But part of me caring about you is recognizing that this is something that is helping you, right? And that's me not saying to be a good person you have to agree with me, right? And that's the spirit that TLC used to have. It's a spirit, I think it's completely lost, except for Christian Baxter. I have to say, Christian Baxter, like, that man, he's a Christian. Rod Hare, that man, despite claiming he's not a Christian, is a Christian. Frankly, you. And I have to say, Chad and Neil, I think, are really trying really hard. But first of all, I think Sam is kind of sort of being drummed out. If you don't see it, I hope it's not true, but that is something that I am starting seeing Sam being distanced and removed. But it's falling apart, and I am incredibly saddened by it, and it was painful listening to the discussion between Mark Parker and Rod Hare, because we're losing Rod Hare for the types of person that Mark Parker is.
Well, I didn't listen to it, so.
Oh,
yeah.
Honestly, it's worth listening to. But
I like Rod. I mean,
he's incredible. Like everybody that I think has any degree of wisdom that has listened to it has said Oh my God, Rod handled that so well. Um, honestly, it reminds me of Tovia Singer recently went on Jesse Lee Peterson, and I couldn't listen to all of it because Jesse Lee Peterson was being precisely as clueless. I don't know if he's actually as clueless as he pretends to be, but he was right up there, and Tovia Singer like handled it very, very calmly. Um, but yeah,
Yeah. Well, okay. So to go back to what I was saying, the thing about like, so, yes, in a sense, you can say like somebody in ministry or whatever can remove the political, except for the fact that like, well, if you're okay, so actually this was really good. So I did see a clip from Charlie Kirk that was the guy Larry Sanger, the guy from Wikipedia that became
yeah,
a Christian, and he posted this clip of Charlie saying like, this is how I knew this guy was smart. And he's just like, somebody was trying to say like the Declaration and the Constitution is based on common law and not the, and then he just like runs through all the things. It's like, well, common law comes from the Bible, and he's citing all the sources of all the,
natural law. You mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the guy said common law anyway.
Oh,
So, but like basically, and just Charlie. So basically, and Charlie's saying like everything in our government is rooted in a Christian sense. It was made by Christian people for Christian people, who were tolerant of people who are not quite as Christian as whatever,
yeah.
But because so that was the system and the way that it was, and then when the Christians removed himself from that by saying politics is over here and Christianity is over here, by going along with the whole like, because I mean that's the thing that happened. You have the startings of this push for more separation between church and state, and the Christians were just probably afraid of losing whatever rights and freedoms they have, so they just surrendered them. And so then you have a government that is formed of people that see government as, government and politics as the totalitarian thing. It is the totality of what is. It has a voice and opinion and control over every aspect of life. And so your faith you're only allowed to have a separate private faith, and or to be a person of faith with a separate and private politics, so long as that political entity decides to tolerate you. I mean, and that's the thing, and especially like for free speech, because it's like, this is like what the book of Acts is all about. Christians say, we can't stop talking about this. We saw this. We have to keep talking about it. That's our thing. And when the government says shut up, we say, no, we're going to talk about it harder, And so like, yeah, so like, I mean, it also is, like kind of a revealing aspect of things, just the way things are playing out. That really the Bible, I would say, shows that laws don't actually do anything. A law never stopped somebody from doing something. Now, a law in itself, without any teaching or enforcement or consequences, doesn't change anybody's action. And so, and if you're past, and so when people say we need to ban this or ban that, or we need a law for X, Y, and Z, you're not really asking for a law, you're asking for the enforcement of that law. And then you're putting things to the test. So then you're
Well, I mean, as you were speaking, I was thinking of Deuteronomy 29:29. The hidden things belong to the Lord our God, and the revealed things belong to us and our children to establish them forever. Right? Um, there is a division between the secular authority and the religious authority within Judaism that I think was taken up by Christianity. And frankly, I think during the Reformation and with the wars, I mean, Look, I don't think you can have anything more clear than Ukraine and Russia are two Eastern Orthodox countries that they were basically in communion with each other, and they're not anymore because of the war, right? So that is religion flipping, like you have the flipping of the hierarchy as it should be, right? Religion should be on top, politics should be secondary, right? And if you can have communion with each other, then you should definitely be able to not kill each other, right? um I yeah, I just think Christianity needs to go back to Deuteronomy 29:29 and recognize, like, we can't see into a person's heart, right? Those things that are hidden, that are beyond us, we have to leave to the Lord our God. But that doesn't mean that we leave everything to God in a nihilistic way, which is down the line from where the Peace of Westphalia tried to keep Christians from killing each other over, what James White calls sacralism.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think so. So the other thing, because thinking about that, and obviously Paul just put out the video and drawing a comparison that many people will probably continue to make between George Floyd and Charlie Kirk. And
I don't think that's going to be made very long.
yeah, okay. Well, probably not. I don't. Yeah, probably not. But it will. A little bit.
It's what the people on the left think.
Well, the point. But I mean,
I think they're wrong.
Yes. Well, the point I think to make the comparison is to say that there's one person that you have to manufacture a narrative around to turn them into the saint that you want them to be. And that isn't like, and you know what? George Floyd might be a real Christian that's just was given awful help in his life, there's pictures of him holding up the Bible and whatever, and he did these things, like, because there's a lot of and honestly, it's part of the problem of churches that think we just need to preach about Jesus saving you from your sins and then no other thing at all, because people,
Well, I mean, if you actually believe the Protestant line that the Protestants tell me, they say that I am being a straw manning Protestants when I say, hey, where's your works? Where's your fruits? Right? Like, and they say, no, the fruits, what we do believe that there will be works as fruits of your faith. Okay, then I can see your faith through your works.
Well, the fruits are all the people that are normie Protestant Christians that aren't causing riots and are, going out and holding prayer vigils and trying to be kind to people, and and all this, that's the thing, is the statistics of all, like, what evangelicals actually, their faith actually affects the way they live way more than like mainline or something. But you can have too anemic a version of that, and it's a hard thing to balance, because I think, this is a big part of the struggle that I tried to work out in my book, and I think it's part of what really needs resolution, because Christianity can both function as the type of religion that is passed down from parents to children, but it does also have this conversionary mechanism that can bring people in from the outside. But you have to figure out, once you bring those people in from the outside, you have to get them integrated into the fullness of the life where they are equipped to raise their children a certain, to pass it on. And you just don't find it's just split with denominations are either all of the one or all of the other. And finding that balance is the difficult thing.
Yeah, Marcus says they were. I'm guessing he means the Ukrainian Church and the Moscow Patriarchate. They were separate prior to even the 2014 war. I thought they were still in communion, but like, yeah, honestly, like it seems to me that like it's just a tragedy, you know, and and frankly, I don't understand how when Father Stephen was on my channel last Thursday, I think it was, um, like he was like, "Yeah, I can be an Orthodox Christian in Russia. I can't be in Ukraine." I was like, "Really? Can you be in Russia?" Because frankly, it seems to me that like an Orthodox Christian in Russia would be like, "Hey, how about we don't kill? How about we don't go to war?" You know. And I'm not sure that that's legal in Russia, but I wasn't going to argue with him too hard about it.
Yeah.
I think both Paul and Jesus would agree Russia should not be going war with Ukraine.
I mean, who am I to tell Christians, especially Orthodox Christians, what their religion requires? But it seems to me that the war between Russia and Ukraine is like obviously not an Eastern Orthodox thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think even though there is a problem of the left reifying politics, I do think the right also does have a problem of deifying politics. I don't know if it's as big of an issue in America as it is in, but I do think that you also see that on the right. I just think it's more explicit on the left.
Well, I mean, okay. So if you think about it, basically, when everybody in America was religious and mostly Christian or whatever, then think about these different kind of impulses. Like a conservative impulse to orient things around the family and to preserve tradition, and then a left um, impulse to welcome strangers and orphans and provide give mercy to those and that need it and things like that. These things would work together, and so you could have because they both are reflections of biblical teaching, but now only one half of the people believe in God. The other people sometimes put God on as like a little cherry on top, so that they can, speak down to the people on the other side for being bad Christians or whatever. But it's not really the same. So when you take God out of politics, like you did on the left, well, then that's your religion now, or whatever it is, your God. So.
Yeah. I would
Dr.
love
Shara
yeah.
is probably putting his furniture together because the new semester is starting, and Dr. Shara is now officially a professor, an actual professor of economics, and I'm sure he has a lot of important things to say, and I can't wait for him to say it. Professor Shara, you have the floor.
I was just joining because I was doing the classic TLC thing of manual labor while people are talking about big ideas. So
You're a
I thought I
professor
should
of
just turn it
economics,
on.
like division of labor, my dear friend. Somebody else should be assembling your furniture while you profess.
Yes, but my lecture tomorrow is the fact that division of labor is limited by the extent of the market, meaning that there's a cost to exchange and transactions such that one might want to not divide up their labor between multiple people if the opportunity cost of entering into the exchange exceeds the surplus that you get from division of labor.
Thank you for that lesson in economics, Professor Shara. We very much appreciate it. And just for that, Michael is going to have to fly all the way to Philadelphia to come, and because he knows how to put together furniture much better than you do.
Well, this is IKEA furniture,
Yeah, I
Oh.
don't know.
and I've put together many of these shelves.
Yeah, I mean, once you've done something 3 times, you're an expert,
Yeah,
pretty much.
I've published 3 papers, so I'm an expert on all economics.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm generally interested in this topic though, and I want to bring up one thing based on one thing that Michael said earlier, that that I think there should be some clarity on the concepts of separation of church and state and having religion in politics, right? So in America, in the First Amendment, we have the Establishment Clause that says that the church institutions and state institutions cannot be the same thing, right? And then we have a ban against religious questions, right? So religious tests of office, and that can get a little bit testy, and the Supreme Court would have to deal with, let's say, someone passes a law like you must eat pork to, hold public office. That's not a religious question, but it is, right? But those are 2 different things. But that's different, and the American founders were very clear about that because they saw how much of a problem that was in England in the centuries preceding them, right? But they were certainly not they had nothing to do with the question of whether or not morality or even religiously informed morality should be a part of politics. That's more than obvious, right? And so sometimes the places where the left goes very extreme is where they conflate those 2 things, right? And say something like, if someone is running for office, or if someone is proposing a certain bill and they cite a Bible verse to justify it, say we should do this because as the Bible says XYZ, right? That's totally legitimate as long as it's following the rest of the Constitution and the rest of the norms of our political institutions. That's not an example of the breach of church and state, right? But the right can take the same mistake and go just as far if they were to claim, let's say, that, well, obviously, morality informs our Constitution, therefore we should not be concerned about any of this church and state stuff. That's just talk anyway, right? So we might as well, break all the norms about having 10 commandments in classrooms, XYZ, things like that, right? So I think that the real issue, like with something like 10 commandments in classrooms, the real issue comes in when the government decides to, or when a legislature decides to pass a certain law that would require the government to actually do things that are very close to a religious test or the conflation of church and state, like with a public school system. So I think like the existence of a public school system is not in and of itself a violation of establishment of church and state, but is just throwing us into a number of situations that our political institutions aren't designed to handle. So basically, end public schools is what I'm saying.
I agree. Troy, vouchers. By the way, I do have to say I'm kind of proud of the reaction to Pam Bondi talking about hate speech. There were, hey, President Foxman, you have to jump on. The reaction from conservatives has been, no, we don't believe in hate. There's such thing as a hate speech. Stop talking about hate speech, which is good.
Is the explanation of her and her positions generally just that she's dumb, or is there something else going on?
She's an attorney.
Because she's also the one that said, well, I mean, this was, you could take it out of context possibly, but also we saved 300 million lives or something. She also is the person who said that, remember, like 5 months ago.
Well, okay. 2 parts to that. One, I have to say, people get really worked up over mistakes in orders of magnitude on numbers, and like some people are just not as numerate as other people, and sometimes orders of magnitude of numbers happen. But one thing I learned when I was in law school. So I had Susan Estridge and Erwin Chemerinsky as professors. And I just remember reading and listening to their public statements and reading their articles, and then what they were discussing in class. And it was like night and day different, right? Like Susan Estridge talked about how defending Bill Clinton was defending the indefensible. At the same time, she was at the like 25 years ago, she was like the left person on Fox News, right? And she would defend whatever the Democrats did. And Erwin Chemerinsky would write these articles in the Los Angeles Times where he would claim things are unconstitutional, and then in class tell us, no, actually the constitutional law is the absolute opposite of what he was saying before, right? And I actually had I talked to Erwin Chemerinsky about it, and the entire position was, hold on, we're lawyers, right? When we're advocating for a position, we have to be able to, in one instance, advocate for a position and use that advocacy, and in a completely different context, be able to know, hey, the Supreme Court is never going to agree with this argument no matter what. That even if we can win this in one situation, we can't in another.
Well, my thought, and I've always approached this thing from, I didn't like it, it's weird because I was homeschooled, and so there was definitely this giant like civics and politics wormhole you can go down in that community if you start doing like the debate club and stuff. But I didn't, because I went the churchy route instead. But I mean, like the thing is all of these things would be fine, even public schools, if all the people that worked there were people that believed in God and went to church. And it's even more so that the maybe like the pastors are kind of guilty of being too like, I don't talk about politics, but just the general like citizenry, especially among Christians, is just not wanting to be involved when it's it's a kind of like being an American citizen is like an incredible privilege compared to like every other time of history, as far as like what the average person can do with their voice and all those things. So to not do anything with it is irresponsible, I guess.
That's true. But I generally agree with you. But there was a stream maybe like a year ago, I think around the time of the Trump shooting, that where Chad was on, and he said something like, yes, that is something some people might want to do, but people in some circumstances, based on their own judgment, should be allowed to opt out given the destruction they see it causing in their local community. So they should be able to say, we kind of want our pastor to stay out of politics because his benefit on the world, whatever it might be, if he contributes to that, is not worth the pain it causes on our community, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think maybe that's even the place where the pastor can be the one to say, like, my job is to be the one who answers your spiritual questions, and if you want to ask me about something, I will help you figure it out. But like but the people in the congregation should be the ones getting involved in that stuff. Like, because that, and maybe that's part of the part of the low church Protestant issue of everybody's kind of a pastor, and then nobody's a pastor. Pastor's just a guy who talks more than everybody else.
I also think, there's difference when something is obviously required by your religious ethics, right? So, for example, when it comes to abortion, the Orthodox Jewish view is a lot more clear and not what Reform and Conservative claim, which is, yes, we are not pro-abortion like some people like to make us be, but it's a lot more clear from Christian history and theology that Christians really, really, it's an integral part of Christianity to be anti-abortion. It seems very clear to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And similarly with school choice, right? I don't see how you can be Jewish, and stand on Jewish values and be against school choice. The thing is, even though I think, for example, the Christian answer to abortion is clear, I don't think that means every single Christian has to vote for a Republican based on Christian morality. I do think there is a Christian argument to be made for allowing more refugees into the United States. I don't think that means, and yeah, Ixnan is absolutely right. Religion is greater than culture and is greater than politics. But
yeah,
there are arguments which may make you vote Democrat or Republican, but there are things in which a church can clearly say, hey, or a pastor can clearly say, hey, this is where Christian morality stands.
Yeah, you could say the way that the whole moral majority thing started and kind of where it ended up, it was a big fit. Well, ultimately it succeeded at what it's intended to do from the beginning, but it sort of got sidetracked along the way there because, like the people that got Christians to say, hey, we're going to vote Republican and the Republicans are going to be pro-life and that's what we're going to do. But once you are this large voting bloc, you have the power, not just the power, the responsibility to hold those people running for office to a fuller standard than just one issue. And the reason why it should essentially, the reason why you would pick that side, it's not because of the one issue, but you wanted them to be on your side for that one issue because the whole package of beliefs more or less lined up with your worldview. So it's it's easier to get that, so you could say, but once they just reduced it to we're a one issue voting block, well then anybody that's a Republican could just give you lip service and they can just try to pass some some symbolic law that doesn't really do anything, and they got your support locked in for life. So it's just that you have to work really hard to maintain the responsibility, I guess the privilege of those responsibilities, or else they just they wither away.
Yeah, and so there's two things. So first, I was going to say I actually posted something about Judy. I don't know if you saw it, Jacob. I posted something about abortion and Orthodox Judaism in Discord. So okay, yeah, it's in the Torah links, I think, either Torah or links. I forgot. So that's thing one, and the second thing is just to boost what Michael says. Yeah, it's one thing if you have two politicians and one is and they both represent one segment of Christian or Jewish values. But I think it's obvious that in modern American culture, there is no way for any sincere Jew or sincere Christian to look at the Democratic and Republican parties and not obviously see how the Republicans are better. Just on a cumulative level of abortion, school choice, inner city crime, just the only issue I can think of is immigration, where I think Democrats have an arguably humanitarian argument. But like, yeah.
I think a lot of young people, a lot of people your age have come to the exact same thing, conclusion.
I hope so.
That if you are going to have Christian values, um, or frankly Orthodox Jewish values, you have to be a Republican. And I think a lot of the boomers are completely blindsided by that and don't even understand that it's true.
Yeah, well, they have no idea. Well, I mean, the thing is, they have no idea about how governance works. They just think about these vanity issues that are, the 10% of things that Republicans and Democrats fight about, and no clue about the 90% of things that the corrupt grifters don't want them to know about.
By they, do you mean the young people, or do you mean
boomers? Yeah.
I mean, boomers. I mean, it's the double-edged sword of the internet is that it gives you access to being exposed to corruption in a way that boomers are not exposed to, despite all the other problems that the internet has.
I think that's true. I think now we see corruption in ways that just were not obvious. I don't think there is more corruption than there used to be. I think that is an illusion a lot of people have, especially young people. But I do think it's a lot more evident, and that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And I think, I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, I do think the internet is good at exposing these corruption, but on the other hand, I do understand why there are communities which are skeptical of the internet. I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you say previously that the rule is basically there's no iPhones for people under 16 in the Orthodox Jewish world?
Yeah.
That sounds
Pretty much.
I think
The Haredi world, modern Orthodoxy is different.
Yeah, I think 16 is a fair age to restrict to the internet. I would say 18, but I think for like older teenagers, the reality of modern life is that socialization is necessary. But I think 16 is a fair number.
Well, now that you're 18, you can say stuff like that. I'm sure that back when you were 14, the idea that 14-year-olds should not have access to smartphones was very much something you disagreed with.
Well, yeah, but I'm also not an insular religious community. Unless I'm just checking our chat.
President Foxman, if you want to run under a Democratic ticket, you have to be pro-choice. That makes things very hard to win folks like me over. Yeah, and frankly, I mean, I have to say, even for my position, like, I believe abortion before 40 days should be allowed. I believe that abortion in the case of the mother's life should definitely be allowed, stuff like that. But when it comes down to the Democrat position of literally abortion after birth, like, I'm sorry, like, you lost me. Yeah.
I would just say you should read that article I posted in Discord. It's Abortion in Negros Moshe. It's called Sometimes Visual. Adam saying, I thought I would find Jacob in his band singing dark metal. I don't know what the context of that is.
No idea.
Well, so and the other thing I've been thinking about too is like not on a probably less connected but less controversial topic. So like I've been thinking a lot about IVF and stuff, and it's like, okay, there's a lot. It's very easy for me to come up with reasons as a Christian why I'm not going to pursue, IVF. Well, for one thing, we don't need to. So that's, but like, so for myself, like, yes, I can see why that wouldn't be something I would pursue. But that, like, just to take the time to think about, like, okay, well, then should it be banned? Like, if I was in charge, would I ban it? And then, and like, how, like, even just the thought of, like, if you're a Christian and you are in charge of people who aren't Christians, like, you shouldn't let them do anything they want in the whole world, but maybe there should be, you have to at least think about, like, why, or by what metrics you would um, impose certain laws and restrictions on other people, um, and obviously people that are more in the political world think about that sort of thing, but I don't see a lot of Christians really thinking about it in a thoughtful way. So,
Well, so I did one of my why is Protestant theology so bad on Douglas Wilson, talking about theonomy.
yeah.
And I just think there's a lack of the because of the embryos, the additional embryos. That's what a
I
lot
mean,
of
it's you must, yeah, most Christians are okay, like, with IVF, if you're not using donor materials and you're implanting all of the embryos that you create. So, there's obviously, that's not the way that most clinics are running things, but you can do it in a more and less ethical ways by quite a few degrees. So, but yeah, but some, but like, this is the thing, because I put a poll on Twitter and I said, would you rather, if you were in charge and you could ban the destruction of embryos, which is the thing that everybody says is the reason why they're opposed to IVF, or you could just ban IVF altogether, which would you do? And it was like 54-45 or whatever. So a lot, and I think a lot of that is, like, I don't know, just sort of like, well, I don't know, we shouldn't mess with that stuff. It's dangerous, or, like it's like a fearful, and it's like, it's good that you don't want to make mistakes. Like, other people are going to make these mistakes, and then what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do about it then? And the answer is, we should just try not to make mistakes.
the surrogacy issue, I think, is a lot more live, and people just don't want to talk about it. And I was absolutely shocked to see that a lot of people I thought were smarter than this were jumping into, like, with Malcolm and Simone, like, their whole thing with, like, using genetic selection and stuff. It's like, dude, this technology is 30 years old, maybe? Like, are you sure you want to do that to your kids and grandkids and great grandkids? What if we find there are real downsides to this?
Well, as far as I know, they've only selected, like, they graded the ones that they had or whatever, like, which ones are the best, and they used them, like,
yeah, you know how you do that?
Yeah.
You take some cells from the embryo, and which, like, how many cells are there? And like,
it's like 500 when they do it. Something
yeah.
like that.
When you extract some cells, I'm not sure that doesn't obviously have some sort of effect on the integrity of that embryo and the possibility of future cancer, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is, like, and that's why I think it's definitely smart to. Oh, well, but okay, so it's definitely smart to say, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait and see. But to say we should ban it outright, I mean, especially, like, I think, because like I know a couple where the woman had a genetic disease, or she had like a thing where it was like she couldn't, if she got pregnant, no no baby would survive essentially. Like she could conceive, but it would not. It would result in a miscarriage like every time or whatever. And it's like, well, that's a rough position to be in. And then there's other people where it's like, oh, because your grandfather had this and my grandfather had that or whatever, this is going to be like a 50, 75, maybe 25% chance of this thing. And if people are trying to, and that's kind of like that woman that started the thing, that was, her thing. Like, well, let's make sure it's not those ones. Now, I mean, it's not good, but like, I think good will come out of it, like, because that's the thing. Because I think that, especially because I think that the lie of like parenting being a drag and like kids being annoying, the whole like dink thing, like, so because a lot of these people like probably tried to do the dink thing and then they got like bored of it after 5 years and they realized like, oh no, my biological clock's ticking, and then they can't get pregnant right away or they have problems, so they do the whole fertility thing. And then once they become parents, then they realize like that whole thing was a sham, that whole lifestyle was a sham, and then they become the advocates telling everybody else, don't wait as long as we did, you might have problems, you should start a family sooner. And so it's like the things like work for the good.
So Susan Estridge actually, so I took the class I took from her was feminist law, and she was the first female campaign manager of a major presidential campaign. She was George Dukakis's was it George
Michael Dukakis?
Michael Dukakis's campaign manager, and she told us like this was one of the things, like in class she was telling us, yeah, I was running the DNC, and at the same time I was taking fertility shots because I was going to do IVF, because when my husband and I decided we want to have kids, I found out I wasn't as fertile as I was when I was in my 20s. And I'm walking into the DNC and I have this line of protesters calling me baby killer and saying how I hate children. And like at the same time, I have like these shots in my purse to take during the day, right? And so she said that in class, but I don't think you would ever see her say that in public.
Well, that whole, did you see that one with that was on Benjamin Boyce, that mate suppression lady with her whole like evolutionary psychology thing about how like basically the feminist professors say all this stuff, they want kids, and then they basically tell all their students to not have kids so that their kids succeed, whether it's conscious or unconscious, but like that's the theory.
Estridge actually said this in class. Hey, Trey. She actually said this in class. She said, look, it's a problem when you graduate and I work hard to get you a clerkship with a judge or even a Supreme Court clerkship, and then afterwards you decide you want to have children and stay home with the kids, right? Like, I invested in you.
Yeah.
Hey, Jacob, have you heard of Robert Putnam?
Of course I've heard of Robert Putnam. I was reading Robert Putnam before you were born.
What do you think of his stuff?
I think that a lot of conservative academics were saying things, including Charles Murray, Robert Putnam, Shelby Steele, many other people were saying things 25 years ago that have obviously shown themselves to be true, and modern academia still refuses to update its priors.
What do you think about the fact that Steve Bannon used Bowling Alone as a playbook for the Trump presidency?
I don't think Steve Bannon used anything as a playbook for the Trump presidency, because I don't think Steve Bannon is as important as the people who you imagine tell you the truth, lie to you, and tell you. He was somebody who didn't actually accomplish much in life, and still hasn't accomplished much in life.
Robert Putnam. Why does that name sound familiar?
He's wrote Bowling Alone.
Okay. Wait. I think I know. Isn't that the book about how bowling leagues used to be a center of community in America and how? Yeah.
Well, the bowling leagues were one form of, yeah. And
Yeah. I think I've
Marcus
heard.
misses you.
I think I've heard Jonathan Haidt reference him.
Yeah,
Hey, Mark.
like, so respectable conservatives used to be in academia. They used to say a lot of smart things. And then what happened was that academia decided they don't want to listen to people who said smart things. And that's why our society is now dumb.
Okay, yeah. Have you heard any of his talk about the upswing?
No.
So that was one of the new release books, and it basically shows, if you look at all the graphs of economic inequality, I think it's also like general GDP as well as social cohesion, they're all basically tied to social clubs. They're all basically linked.
I mean, so the idea, the words social capital were was forged by Glenn Lowry. That was his contribution to economics. And yeah, social capital is incredibly important, and we've known that for decades.
So isn't the solution to most of, couldn't a solution, instead of talking about politics, maybe debating about people, is rather just going, touching grass, and having community with people who disagree with you?
Having community with people who agree with you, not people who disagree with you.
Actually, it's disagree with you. The only reason democracy, that's what Robert Putnam mentions, is actually the reason democracy works. It's not because of closed social networks, but open social networks.
Open social networks, sure, but you have to have some degree of cohesion. That's the whole problem, right? We don't have a basis of cohesion and working together, and that's actually why I call this the spirit of lobotomy. There's a lot of people who have, like, half their brain is, they're so open-minded, their brain falls out, right? And they don't have any consideration of, oh, we actually need to, like a bowling league, right? Actually needs to every week go to the same bowling league and have rules and compete and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, in order to create social capital, right? We are falling apart because of supposedly being open-minded.
No, I disagree. That doesn't make any sense.
How can you have social capital with somebody you fundamentally cannot cooperate with?
How do you know? I don't know if those people exist.
What do you mean? Somebody that I cannot cooperate with?
Yeah, I don't know if those people exist.
You are not paying attention. Somebody who would celebrate your death is not somebody you can cooperate with.
I probably work with people who have celebrated other people's deaths.
Yeah, but that's because you're all working in an environment where there's a corporate environment and you guys are being paid. Corporations are one way of actually getting people together, but it's not enough See, this is the materialist conceit.
Just like bowling leagues.
What do you
Focus
mean?
on the bowling, not the actual topics. Not that many people actually want to talk about politics.
Again,
All I'm saying is you just need to read more Robert Putnam. You haven't read as many conservative as you're thinking. Because
Trey,
if you did, you would realize the answers are there.
Trey, I'm
Yeah?
sorry, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, I don't. No idea. Oh, sorry. Oh,
No
yeah,
idea.
definitely.
No idea.
One
I don't
public intellectual
have any
who
idea
might
what
help.
you're talking about.
What?
Was
What'd you
that
say,
what to
Michael?
me?
No, Michael, what'd you say?
I said I don't have any idea what you're talking about to Trey. But I guess I need to read Robert Putnam to know. But I'm not going to.
Hold on, you haven't read Robert Putnam? If anybody around here had read Robert Putnam, I would have expected it would be you. It's
No.
not on your shelf back there, Bowling Alone?
No,
Huh, interesting.
You would like American Grace is the one.
I don't read. I don't learn things from books. I just figure stuff out on my own, and then I pick up a book and say, this is the guy that says I'm not crazy. Like 99% of the time, I just find somebody saying the thing that I already thought in a book after I read it, like after I figured it out for myself. It's just me and my Bible, solo scriptura, like a real non-denom Christian.
The only other book I've heard you reference, Michael, was that Viktor Frankl? That was the only book I remember you referencing on stream.
I did listen to that audiobook one time.
Well, Dr. Shara says, I get it, Trey, but you're misphrasing, I think.
I mean, I can quote this book pretty good.
I'm probably not saying the correct terms for the inner versus outer thing, but yeah.
Not only that, I have to say, as much as I love Trey, his reading comprehension is really bad.
I did want to say something just because I think that back to like eugenics that people don't think about. So this is my prediction. If people just go full on no rules eugenics, there's going to be like 5 years of people breeding kids with like 20 points higher intelligence than them, and then within those 5 years, the parents are all going to say, "This is horrible. Don't do it." And then they're all going to start. Everybody's going to start having kids that are like whatever human equivalent of like golden doodles, like just polite, well behaved children that don't shed. And then in like 20 years, when those first batch of super geniuses grow up, they're going to change all the laws about eugenics. So, and then it'll be over.
So you're talking about fads in children?
Yeah, like I think that's like the thing is like, oh, we're going to select for super intelligence. You don't want to raise kids that are way smarter than you. You're going to hate it. Like,
I don't know if that's going to be the problem, but I do think selecting for any one thing is probably a big mistake.
Well, I guarantee anyone that has a plan about like this is how I'm going to raise my children or whatever, it's like that's not going to work. But it's going to be worse if they're super intelligent.
So Ixnan is absolutely correct. As I have always said, the Tecton School of Michael's is the best idea in this little corner. And if this little corner fails to actually make it happen, it's an absolute failure of this little corner. And it's one of the things I point to. Like, I have not seen support of Tecton School. I have tried to support it everywhere way I know how to do.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know, but nobody knows how to do anything in this corner. So, I mean, I have to find somebody to help me figure out how to get the ball rolling, and then I think people will support it. But there have been not many people inviting me on to talk about my book, so that's disappointing. But
well, I mean, I have your book, but it's really, really long.
Yeah, you don't have to just read some part of it. Just read because it's like 7 different. Like there's lots of sections, so you can read some. There's a couple of chapters, just like one off. The other, other ones, it's 3-4 chapters.
I've heard you talk about most of this stuff.
Yeah.
I think you and I
There's
generally
okay.
agree
Let me tell you about this.
90%
Okay,
of things.
there is weird stuff that I've never talked about anywhere. Anything in the second half of the book, pretty much about architecture or clothing or well, those ones are. There's a lot of stuff in there. A lot of the stuff about economics. So maybe Marcus can tell me all the things I'm wrong about there. But if he's interested in finding out what somebody who mistrusts everybody and only learns for themselves thinks about economics, it's in the book there. So, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. There's really weird stuff. Like I keep waiting for like somebody to say, "Look at this weird thing." There have been a few people that have read the book all the way through. So, but yeah, I haven't had any long conversations with anybody about it. So,
Speaking of TLC not doing anything, I do want to say, and the reason I came on to say that Estuary, I think, is the greatest project of the TLC, and its avoidance of politics is actually the only thing that's going to heal America, i.e., Robert Putnam, and that's who I'm citing, and that's who I'm 10 toes down on. So, if you could say that arguing about politics all the time actually gets something done, I believe it. But from what I understand, that actually probably sitting and doing Estuary is probably the best
Trey, how
invention we
long
have.
have you known me?
2 years, 2 or 3 years.
And what percentage of the time do I spend on politics?
I don't check your Twitter. And I think anytime I talk to you, when you talk about politics, either we rage at each other or I'm like, I don't want to talk about this. So
correct, but I don't spend nearly as much time on politics as you do.
I don't think that's true.
I know you don't, but that's because you're constantly everything about you is political.
Okay. That doesn't really help because then we're gonna get the whole political.
Like I would never get you a birthday present that had anything to do with politics. Ever. Like I wouldn't even think of it.
First of all, I don't think I've made, screamed at people, made long live streams. At the very least, look, you could say my life is political, but I'm not making hour-long live streams about it. So to me, I don't know how you could say that. All your actions are saying that you aren't political.
Politics.
It's just hanging out time. We're just having fun.
No, I do have political streams. But if you look at the percentage of my streams that are political, it's actually very low.
You can talk about this. See this sweet shirt? My brother got this for me for my birthday.
And
Very nice.
And this is not a politics stream, it seems.
Yeah, I got it. I got Trey a T-shirt. Guess what? It doesn't have politics on it.
Wrestling's very political, though. So
Is it my name is STEWPID?
No,
Okay, that would be hilarious to give it a try.
no, because he wears shirts like that all the time.
Also, I gotta call out Claire. First of all, talk about, throwing stones from glass houses. I tried to meet Claire up in Britain and she just hurled insults at me rather than meeting me in person. It's like, if you're all about this Quranism, right, you better stand up for it. I was gonna, have a nice, polite conversation with her, but then she's like, no, I'm just gonna hurl slurs at you. So, yeah, boo Claire. That's all I had to say. We could have had a great time in Britain, okay?
Trey, you don't understand when Claire is sexually attracted to someone, she does the nursery school thing of like pulling their hair and calling them names. That's yeah.
Okay,
The sexual energy was way too much for her.
Yeah, well.
When did you meet Claire, by the way?
I didn't meet Claire. I still haven't met Claire. I'm not sure I would like. I'm not sure it would be safe to meet up with Claire. She seems kind of dangerous.
I suppose I mean to say, when did you first encounter Claire?
You know what I just realized? So I was thinking about that. I'm going to that Southestuary conference, and those people that Free Willian was upset with will be there. And I was like, yeah, they're both speakers of this thing. And I was thinking like, I don't really want to. I mean, I'm not really going to get into any political thing. But then I realized that I'm bringing my father-in-law with me. And he's in like he may be wearing a MAGA hat.
Oh,
I could tell him to wear a MAGA hat.
all I will say is that Yosef is an incredibly wise person, and he understands things better than vast majority of people. And yeah, so if I really did want to go mostly for Yosef because he's going to be there and he's going to be speaking. Unfortunately, like I just can't. But yeah, Yosef being there is going to raise the quality of discourse dramatically.
Yeah, I wish I could. I wish I could meet Joseph. I think Joseph. I mean, I think he and I would have a lot in common.
No, I don't think so.
Well, in the sense that we're both interested in intellectual type things.
I can't hear a word you say. You
Is
mumble.
this better?
Not much really.
Oh.
Well, it is also interesting. Michael Martin did have a thing the other day. It was actually like the same day, I think. Charlie Kirk was shot, but yeah, talking about like I don't know why all these people think I'm like a lefty guy, and I'm totally not at all. And I love guns, and he loves working class people and all this stuff. And so it is funny how like just it could be like hippy dippy theology or spirituality and want to pigeonhole somebody like, but then I don't know. People are complex. I mean, that's the thing. I think that thing that what I get out of the whole spirit of lobotomy thing is that we always just want to be looking for reasons to reduce people to something that we can write off quickly. And that's the kind of the problem. Like people are super complex and all of this stuff affects all the different aspects of our lives. So you have to actually think about it. And that's why it's not necessarily so important that people be involved in everything, but they should be like aware or informed of the way that these things work together.
Well, I mean, again, so let me read what Don said. The value of the bowling league is that when you find out you have political differences with your teammates, you are already seeing each other as fully formed human beings. That is definitely part of it. Like, part of the whole thing was part of the whole thing with Luke's stream was he was talking about, yeah, I deliberately don't pay attention to politics, and it's like, but you do. You're just using that as an excuse, right? And that was the whole thing with like half his brain tied behind his back. He's like, oh no, I'm not paying attention to that. I'm paying attention to only this.
Well, there is another problem with this, and that is that like in the whole like way that like there's a podcast and a thing about everything, like you can have a whole like you can approach any of these things as like a lifestyle or whatever. Like, you could just, and that's the thing. And I think that's what people don't even realize is like when they get hooked into it. Cause I spent like a year or whatever watching InfoWars, and like you start to like think you get these little like bits and pieces of the people's personality and things about their personal life. And it's like, it's a parasocial relationship. But we all have parasocial relationships with like the people that we listen to on a regular basis. And so then, even if you're listening to something that's like about a topic, you are sort of partaking in a whole worldview experience when you do it. So you might not be wanting to like listen to the politics version of the whole like experience, but that doesn't mean that the political things are not affecting your life somehow.
I agree.
I agree as well. Is it testing is better now?
A little
Yeah.
bit.
Okay. Yeah, I do think that's important. I do think that there's a certain segment of the population in America which, for the time being, is not going to be able to cooperate with us, but it is what it is. Um, One of the reasons I love prayer is I believe in divine providence. So I hope that Hashem will help enlighten many people. But I don't know how effective prayers are seen as in Judaism.
Prayers, I mean, depends who you ask. Maimonides thought prayers didn't actually change anything, but most people very much disagree with him. Um, he thought it was necessary to pray for our own good, not for, but I most people very much disagree with him. I do think prayers certainly do have real world impact even beyond our own. But even if it is just the impact that it has on us, it's worthwhile.
Yeah. Well, and when you try to pray according to God's will and discerning God's will, then you see your prayers answered more often anyway, because you are like, sometimes I think he answers our prayers and gives us the stuff that we want even when he shouldn't. But if you want the same things that he wants, then your prayers work pretty well.
Yeah. Is there any like Mayorim or like whatever it's called by like the Rebbe or any other Hasidic or Kabbalistic type thing that discusses this that you know of, Jacob?
I'm sorry, I forgot something. I have to go. Michael, you can keep this going as long
Just
as you
before
like.
we go though, I wanted to ask: is it okay if I post something on Kabbalah? Okay, never mind. I was gonna ask Jacob something. Never mind. I'll
Well,
ask
I'm in
Dustin.
charge now. Now, Jacob's given me permission to be in charge of things again. So, let's see.
So how have you been, Michael?
I've been pretty good. It's interesting. Like I'm seeing a lot. I think, I don't know. Maybe it's because like I have a wide range of interests, so I don't see as siloed of views. Like, because I think I've seen like a wide response to the news, and and maybe this is some bias that I've seen much more good than bad as far as people's response, and so that's encouraging. Had some good conversation last night with some guys at my church, and yeah, everything.
What do you do professionally, out of curiosity?
So I work for a kitchen cabinet company, and I do I do a little bit of the stuff behind the scenes, setting the schedule, and then I do some other stuff like in the field with my hands,
Yeah,
fixing problems. So
I mean, it's not the easiest, but it's dignified. It's good. It's good work.
yeah, well, I like it because it gives me time to listen to stuff and think about things and all that. So even if I was getting paid to do like I often said, if I was being, if I, because I mostly doing this full time, and then I do some church stuff kind of part time or volunteering, and then if it was the other way around, I would still be doing the same thing, because like working with my hands helps me to think through things. And well, that was kind of a big part of the whole idea behind my tectonic school idea. So Yeah. So today is your birthday? Is that?
Yep. Today
Wow,
I'm
happy
18, so I
birthday.
guess now I can vote. I can't drink, I think, until I'm 21, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
Well, you can go get some cigarettes if you want.
I can? I thought you can't smoke until you're 21.
Oh, I don't know. I think it was it's used. I thought it was 18.
Okay.
Most
I thought the
places.
FDA changed that. Okay.
Oh, maybe, I don't know. I've been 18 for so long, I forget. But
Do you have
lottery
any
ticket.
advice?
Do you live in a state with lottery tickets? You can waste your money on one of that if you want.
I'm in Mississippi, so I don't know.
Mm.
Do you have any advice for young men my age, 18, just becoming adults?
Uh, buy Bitcoin.
Buy Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Adam's saying, Kirk, I don't know if that's in relation to the lottery tickets or into relation to the Bitcoin, but either case, I don't have enough money for either of those. Well, I mean, I guess I have enough money for a lottery ticket, but I'm not going to spend money on a lottery ticket.
you can buy. Well, I mean, I don't know if they have like scratch tickets. You can get like a $1 scratch ticket.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. We'll see.
It's fun for the thrill because they're going to ask you. Maybe they'll ask you, or maybe they won't. I don't know. I don't know what would be more exciting if they asked or if they didn't ask for your ID. And then they'll have to say happy birthday if you can get out and do it today.
So, may I derail the conversation?
Yeah, sure.
So, are you at all interested in quantum computing and quantum physics?
I mean, I don't really know anything about it. So,
Okay, because I was talking about it last night with Mark, and he was skeptical, but I was gonna open it up because you were mentioning investing in Bitcoin. So I was thinking, like, in terms of investment advice, I'm considering by the time, like, 10 years from now, um, thinking about whether or not. But also, I'm just interested in quantum physics, even beyond just the quantum computing.
yeah, because I did hear, like some time ago, people were saying like, oh, well, if people use quantum computing, they could like crack the Bitcoin system or whatever. And I heard people say this like, well, then no point in like because it's coming, no point in buying Bitcoin. And that was when Bitcoin was like $8,000, and now it's like 120 or close to it. So
Oh
that was
wow,
dumb.
I guess it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Well, not really. I mean, they really missed the boat on that one, is what I'm saying.
Well,
But
I thought that.
from what I gather, I mean, if somebody put like you could the way that Bitcoin's like really set up is that it's always more beneficial to put your computing power into supporting the network rather than trying to attack it. And so, unless if you're like maybe a government or something and you could put like billions of dollars behind trying to like it's the incentive is you're incentivized to work with the system and not against it. So that's kind of one of the strengths it has going for it. And I don't know if that would apply to quantum computing too, like if they, but it might. So
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, quantum computing I don't think is going to be commercially viable, even to the extent that Bitcoin is until like 10 plus years from now. But by 10 plus years from now is by the time I'll have expendable cash. And of course, I can't just graduate college. I have to graduate college and I have to work and save up money. So it's not like this is like a short term thing. But in the long term, that whether or not it'll be commercially viable is a real question. Because Mark last night when I was talking to him was saying that in his view, it might not necessarily be as useful for things as people say, or that'll have some use, but not as much. But then other people are like very optimistic. But I don't know. I mean, I, I'm optimistic about it just because from the stuff I've seen, the way it seems to work, it does seem to offer potential, a lot of computing power. But like in terms of will it be commercially viable, I don't know.
yeah. Well, I would say one of the other things that I think is a really valuable thing to do with your time is to be some sort of a generalist. Like I think it's good to know a little bit about a lot of things. Not like
Yeah.
I mean, there is something to the idea of not like just not knowing just about things, but like, okay, so I work with tools and mostly like power tools and stuff like that. But I know how to use the hand tools to do everything, and I could do everything with hand tools. It's just more work and it takes longer. But it's like, well, that's a good skill. If I'm somewhere in the with no power and I need to fix something, it's like at least I know I can. So so I think that's like, I think it's smart for people to learn about technological advances, but also just not to put all of your eggs in one basket, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I am kind of a generalist. I mean, I'm interested in theology and philosophy and psychology and chess and now recently quantum physics. It's just one of the reasons is because when I got interested in philosophy, some people were saying that I should look into a specialized science, and I figured the most interesting specialized science to me is quantum physics. I mean, do you think that people should like in general learn like specialized sciences?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you have the aptitude for it. I mean, I kind of ended up being like a sort of generalist in some ways because like ADHD, and I just like, I don't know if you've heard people have talked about Karen Wong's little illustration of like things that have no bottom, like, which is basically like anything. You could learn about music, and you could never exhaust how much you can learn about music. There's no bottom. And similar things with almost anything really, and certainly something like physics. But I always kind of get to like a point where like once I realize like, oh, that thing is like it's a black hole with no bottom, then I'm kind of like, I know the fact that I know you could like explore it infinitely, then it kind of I get bored of it, and I want to find something else that I don't like, because it's always something that I really don't understand or something that confuses me. And then I'm like, I got to understand like what is going on there. And then I'll learn like a lot about it, and then I get like bored at some certain point. But
Yeah, I mean, I might get bored. I've recently, it's just been the last couple of weeks I've been interested in it. I mean, I think it's good to learn about different subjects, so people get a feeling, because it's not good to be one trick pony.
well, yeah. And the other thing is though, so I wouldn't say so. I don't always get bored with things, but like I'll get bored for a while. But then once you learn about something new, and then you figure out how it connects to the other things that you've already learned about, then those things become interesting again. So maybe that's the thing. It's just to learn things, just like take breaks from one thing and go learn something else, and then come back, and you come back and you appreciate the other things. I mean,
Yeah, like,
yeah.
and I was just gonna say I've been doing that recently with like listening to lectures on like Kabbalah and quantum physics and Kabbalah and neuroscience and an Orthodox Jewish quantum biologist named Jeremy England discussing the origins of life and like, I mean, like quantum. There's so many parallels between quantum this and quantum that's really an exhaustive like set of cognitive connections one could make.
Yeah, you explore quantum wrestling.
Quantum wrestling, where you're superpositioned and in the chokehold. That would be a funny SNL skit. Although SNL's really bad nowadays, in my opinion, or pretty bad.
Yeah, yeah. So are you thinking about college? Are you in college now, or what?
So currently I'm in a homeschool program on ASU, Arizona State, where I do personal finance courses online. I just so I do that, and so I mean I have to. I'm currently doing a personal finance class, but over the semesters I'm still going to have to take other classes. I'm just saying right now the class I'm taking is personal finance, but yeah, I plan to get an associate's degree.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I didn't finish the bachelor's degree I started or whatever. So I don't know. I think there's gonna be like it's going to be smart to do some of these alternative things. It's just like none of them are there yet. Like that was like I actually thought about with Peterson Academy. Like I was like, oh, if I started doing that, like I thought there might be some advantage to being like one of the first people to complete it, but it doesn't seem like they really had it all figured out. But I think there probably will be things that replace normal college and are more effective for whatever the jobs and things people do in the
Yeah.
future are.
I mean, the main thing that I've heard about that is trade school, right? I've heard that a lot of people are talking about how trade school will potentially that. Although, so out of curiosity, did you get your associate's degree then? If you didn't get your bachelor's, or
So the school I did had like a 1-year certificate program, so I did that, and then they gave me some like transfer credits from another non-accredited, like because it was a Bible college, and I did like a non-accredited internship thing, and they gave me some credits for that, and then I went back for another semester. So I was there for like 3 semesters, but I had like maybe 2.5 years worth of credits. But
okay,
then I
but
started working for my church, so I didn't need to go there anymore.
okay, but didn't formally turn to like an associate's degree. Just
Yeah, they didn't
became
offer an associate's. They had a 1-year and a 4-year. So
okay. That's bizarre. I would like if you could, or if like Claire could jump on, or if you could post the stream notes link in chat, because I haven't met Claire, but she sounds like an interesting character to talk to.
I don't know.
About
She's on Jacob's no list, so I'm kind of like, eh. But
okay,
if there's no, I'll put the thing out because if I didn't realize that people aren't uh, haven't been see if anybody else is around.
yeah. I mean, I don't think Adam's not gonna hop on. I wonder if Marcus might is still lurking, or if
He's
someone
going on
else.
my channel too, so I don't know if anybody's over there, but I'm watching it from over there. If the
Yeah,
House of Woo is going, maybe you just switch over there, see what
yeah.
those guys are doing.
I actually saw Claire on Jacob's channel. I think it was a couple weeks ago. So I don't know if she's on another list in
Really?
terms of joining StreamYard. Um,
Hmm.
this I don't exactly understand her philosophy. Is she? I don't know. She says she's agnostic, but then I saw her talking about Sharia law. I don't know. Is she serious about all this?
I don't know. That's Jacob's whole thing is that she's some sort of a weird like internet construction like troll. Like I don't think he takes her seriously, or she's trying to like I don't know. Like she was around a lot more when I first started coming around here, and it was like it was the COVID times when everybody was like way more paranoid about stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, have you, as a generalist, what subjects would you say you're most interested in generally?
I mean, I really am interested in I guess the Bible, how it connects to all sorts of other things. And so some of the things I thought it was important to learn about in my book were like architecture, definitely like construction, but like a lot of how that works, um, like furniture design and things like that. Those are some practical ones. And then I actually do really like wrestling a lot. I mean, I like a lot of stories and writing, books and like I really like fiction and kind of the way that fiction can be used to get ideas across that are difficult to to do
Yoram
just
is
in
talking about.
abstraction. Yeah. Well, as
Have
soon as he
you,
pops up, I will put him in here.
are you interested at all in like, the Bible and like mathematics and like the Mandelbrot set and all this?
I do like the Mandelbrot set, and I did a thing a long time ago. I actually think about it as an interesting thing often, like um, in different ways. Like I don't like it is. It's like a useful like metaphor in my mind. But I've also heard really good presentations about how it's like, well, where is this thing? It doesn't exist like in physical space, but it's, like as a sort of apologetic argument for the existence of God. And I always think those things are interesting. So, what were your thoughts about it?
I mean, I don't know much about the Mandelbrot set other than it's like I learned the formula for it like a little bit, but like I don't exactly remember what the formula is. But like yeah, it's a beautiful fraction pattern. I mean, the way I see mathematics in general is I kind of conceptualize this as it's the thumbprint of God. So like I think God created space time, and so mathematical principles because space they come from geometry and space time ultimately come from God because God created all this. So. I see it as a creation by God.
Somebody's Stealer of Designs is in the studio. Can you put your camera on so we can see you are real people? I'm not familiar with you, so.
Also, Ixnan is saying that Claire is the one person who's been kicked off of Jacob's Discord. That's crazy because she doesn't kick anyone off of Discord except for her. Oh, and Hezi, shalom. If you can hop on, that would also be great. We'd love to have you and Yoav join, or at least I would. Yeah, I guess I just think mathematics is just created by God, but like in terms of do I think it's like in a world of forms? I don't know. I mean, do you think there's like a Platonist world of forms with math and all that?
I don't know if I would say it in like the Platonist way. I mean, the way I kind of think of it is that like, creation and all of the like stuff like happens at the same time. Like, so like the future or whatever, it's like already there. And like so like so it's kind of interesting the way I think about it with like the Mandelbrot set and stuff like that is that it's like if you are part of that pattern like that's like eternal, then it's going to come to fruition, but maybe some of the things that we see and experience are not part of that pattern. They're like illusions or whatever. I don't know, I just think about this too because like in regards to kind of like the question of universalism and like Luke talks about like what is the like ontological nature of a thing that is created but doesn't like exist in permanence or whatever compared to like the souls and the people that do. And maybe there are things that are illusions, I guess you could say. So
That's interesting. Yeah, I'd have to think about that. Yoav, hello.
Hi.
Shalom.
Shalom.
I don't know if you saw in Discord, but the reason I've changed my name to Cool Man is because I'm 18 now. Today's my birthday, so. Do you have any advice for a young man?
You have to ask something more specific.
I mean,
my advice to young men is find a nice girl, marry her, and have lots of children. That's what other advice is
that
there?
sounds like pretty good advice. I would like to marry a nice girl, and I'll make sure she's either Noahide or Christian.
All right, anybody that's in the back, if you put your camera on just so you can see that you're a real person.
Do you have any thoughts about what we're talking about, Yoav, with mathematics and?
Well, I have specific thoughts about the Mandelbrot set. I was growing up with the Mandelbrot set. When I was your age, that was the coolest thing one can do. I mean, this is before all the artificial intelligence things. And the forefront of what was strange and interesting was the Mandelbrot set. And in the same way that people were afraid that the young people will lose themselves within the artificial intelligence, that will spend all their days talking to artificial friends. That was what I thought was possible with the Mandelbrot set. My logic was that if there is infinite variation, infinite images to explore within the Mandelbrot set, then I can spend all my life just strolling through the Mandelbrot set and saying nice things and finding interesting things and never saying the same thing twice. That was the null hypothesis. Happily, it proved wrong. When you start strolling through the Mandelbrot set, after a day or two, it gets boring. It gets repetitive. Yes, mathematically, you keep seeing this different thing. You never see the same thing twice. Relevance, realization-wise, it's all the same. You have the feeling that you got it. After 2 days of wandering through the Mandelbrot set, okay, I get the picture.
I think it takes most people like maybe 10 minutes. I don't know.
Yeah, but you have to think that the young me was
I appreciate your dedication.
was quite autistic. Well, potentially autistic for sure. So that is strange, because what is with the human spirit that is not satisfied with the Mandelbrot set? I think this is an interesting point to ponder and a source of optimism, because I think the young generation, when they start adopting their new artificial friends, it will be boring after a week or two. They will be getting essentially the same reply, and they will quickly feel they were not talking to a real person.
Oh yeah, I did that. I went through the whole rabbit hole. I wrote an article about it, and I was like, wow, this is really impressive. And then as soon as I basically verified like that you can do it, and I thought like, okay, well, I'm going to set these safeguards so I know. Then it's like, okay, that's cool that you can do that. I'm bored. I haven't had any desire to talk to it again. Like, so yeah, I mean, it does lose its interest, I think. I mean, maybe I don't know if it's maybe like if you're not an interesting person, it'll captivate you more. But yeah.
Correct me if I'm
Okay.
wrong, but don't you work in 3D printing, Yoav?
I do.
Have you ever 3D printed like a version of the Mandelbrot set? The fractals?
Can I? Is it possible?
I don't know. Is it? I'm not like 3D printing.
Well, the Mandelbrot set itself, strictly speaking, is two-dimensional. There are similar mathematical constructs that are three-dimensional. The problem is with the detail. Because it has such fine detail, it is easily breakable. Think about a very delicate structure that is not standing on a firm base. You just touch it and you break some of its final bristles. So it's something that can be embedded in glass or embedded in epoxy, and it will be quite beautiful to look at as embedded in epoxy, but then it will be actually the same experience as watching it through the monitor.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm talking like one that tried.
A girlfriend's definitely better.
Yeah. Yeah, still you have to treat it gently, try not to break too many bristles.
Don't talk about the Mandelbrot set on a first date.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand, and also probably not going to bring up quantum computing or any of this with first date.
Yeah.
Do you have you been feeling excited for the high holidays, anxious for the high holidays?
I've seen 65 of them already. I'm not. I don't expect the next one to be much different, except that I now have a grandchild to enjoy the holiday with, and it is making quite a difference in how the holiday feels.
Do you think that on because of what happened a couple years ago with the October 7th, something similar might happen around the high holidays this year? Are you worried about that as a possibility or not really?
That is touching too much on politics, but it is safe to say that that the people that could have caused me harm 2 years ago or 1 year ago, they're either not alive or they lost all their weapons. So they are either dead or looking at me very hatefully from a safe distance.
Fair enough.
Okay,
Young
Young,
God.
what do you click? You see you have on a live stream panel, I click. What do you click?
I think he said he clicked the live stream. Young
Okay.
God, feel free to join.
If Young God joins, I will be pressing him very hard to disclose his vision of the world as a constant. I really want to listen to that. So, Young God, I will quote something to you in Latin. I mean, maybe you also like Latin. Ho fortuna velut luna, statum variabilis.
I don't know what does that translate to?
Well, it's a view of the world that it keeps changing, but then it's always the same. Statum variabilis, always changes, always the same. Like the moon. The moon keeps changing, but it's always the same. But I want a young God to elaborate on that. I don't want to lecture young God about his vision of the world.
Yeah.
Okay, going back to marriage advice, your wife should be sort of member of the same church, so you will not be quarreling about where to send your kids. But she actually doesn't have to believe the same beliefs as you do. Actually, the more different, the better.
I don't go
Reason.
to I don't go to church. I go to synagogue.
Yeah, whatever. I was talking sort of in a general way. I mean,
Yeah, so that's the church, the synagogue. That's the one you
Well, I
want
understand,
your wife to
but
go to.
the reason I brought that up is because the only woman who I mean, there's Noahides, but I don't know how many Noahides there are, let alone Noahides who actively go to synagogue every week like I do, or who are even affiliated with the synagogue. I mean, because I can't marry a Jewish woman because that's against halacha. So I guess I would just have to really, really look out for a Noahide woman. We'll see.
if you find the right girl, well, forgive me to saying, ignore all other rules.
Ignore all other girls?
Sorry?
Do you say ignore all other girls?
Ignore all other rules.
Oh, rules. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, your wife stands above anything else. Otherwise, she's not your wife. Marriage is unconditional.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, just just gotta find that right one.
Yeah.
But it's not. Sometimes it doesn't take long. Pray. That's a good thing. Pray about it.
I will pray. And also another piece of advice, which I'm asking for you to confirm, but I'm pretty sure I know your answer will be stay off of dating apps. Or is that not good advice?
I wouldn't know. When I was your age, there were none.
I don't know. I probably wouldn't, but
You probably wouldn't go on dating apps?
I don't think so. But I don't know.
Okay.
Like, I had like friendship that sort of worked the regular way. I got married 11 years ago, so. But my wife and I were like friends for like 5 years before that too. So. Yeah.
Also, if I may, Yoav, if this is not too heavy of a question, where exactly do you stand currently in terms of your relationship to religiosity?
It exists. It definitely exists.
Okay. Would you say you're a God-fearing Jew?
Except that I don't fear him.
Okay. That's fair. I mean,
That's being Israeli.
Hmm.
I'm just checking on comments. Yoav, love. Yeah, Hezi. I think Hezi's boosting your comment about not fearing God. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what. Do you know of anything within Judaism that talks about whether you should fear God or just have a good relationship? Like, what exactly does Judaism say you should do with God in terms of your emotions?
Well, I think that was Green's criticism against a certain Catholic bishop. If you're fearing God because you're afraid of punishment, then you're actually thinking of yourself.
Well, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, but it doesn't have to be the end of wisdom. I mean, the fear you have of your father is with, there's wisdom there, but at a certain point you realize
the fear of God is the fear of the man that I would become if ever I strayed from the right path.
Yeah. Fear of disappointment.
Yeah, it's a fear of disappointing my father.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't fear his punishment. I fear of disappointing him.
Yeah, so I suppose it's that you're not supposed to fear God for the punishment. You fear disappointing him. That makes sense. And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you say that you used to not be religious, but you became more religious after October 7th?
Who did?
I thought you said you did, but I could be confusing you for someone else.
It's Jordan Peterson. It's all Jordan Peterson's fault. What I learned from Jordan Peterson is that atheism doesn't exist. So I can say that I'm an atheist by my social group or by my group affiliation. But I cannot say that I am a believing atheist because it just doesn't exist.
Hmm.
I see.
It's a useful political fiction.
So you're not. So you. Oh, I'm going to check out the House of Wu. Have a good day, everyone. I don't know what the House of Wu is, but is that your channel?
It's the competition.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So basically, you would say that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess you have become more religious because of Jordan Peterson, or you think of yourself as more religious. Not that you've become more religious. You think of yourself as more religious because of Jordan Peterson.
Well, Jordan Peterson put in words uh, stuff that we always feel, but we never. There was too nebulous. It didn't crystallize into something that you can say.
Yeah. Hezi is saying, I look at Yoav as I believe that's Hazer Lala Teshuvah. I don't know. Do you know what this translates to in the English, Yoav?
Well, Choser B'Tshuva is when you come back to the religion. Tshuva is to come back, and Choser is also to come back. What he's saying is sort of a play of words, but he's coming back but not coming back. Sort of.
Hmm.
Yoav is so Christianized. In what way? I mean, do I believe in the Trinity? No. So in what way am I a Christian?
Well, if you, I mean, you're a Jew. You're not a Christian.
No, but the Office of Secular Quranism claims that I am. By diffusing, maybe.
In comparison to secular Coranism, you're Christianized.
I'm not sure she isn't, because she's been out there with the Christian for so long. Things go by diffusion. You have talked about going to church. Yoav is speaking to Yoav's audience. If I said shul, I don't think that most people would understand what I meant.
Most people would understand if you said synagogue.
So, Kirk, are you Gentile and you just do the Noahide thing? Is that what you're doing?
I thought I told you before I'm a Noahide.
Oh, I didn't. I guess I didn't. I thought you were. I guess I assumed you were Jewish. Well, yeah. Then my advice to you would just be go find a mega church and go find a girl there, and then you can try to convince her your thing, or just say you're not sure about stuff, and she'll keep praying for you, and then that's just because the numbers are better there. But that's the mega church is the best alternative to the dating apps, and that's where the girls are. Like all the guys that are getting into these weird idiosyncratic forms of Christianity. The problem with that is there's no girls. There's no girls in any of them. So
yeah.
Actually, I have a very, very good advice to give to you. If you are shy, and if you are a bit autistic, and if you had failures beforehand, the new girl that you meet doesn't know it. She doesn't know how many times you have failed. She doesn't know that you're an introvert, if you are. She doesn't know about all those queer things that you are interested in. All you have to do is to pretend to be a real man in the first date.
Okay. Well, I am a real man, but yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I'll take that up with advice.
Okay, I will give you an example. What does a real man talk about in the first date?
Hey, would you like me to open a door for you? I presume chivalry is part of it.
No,
chivalry.
the subject.
Okay.
You have an agenda. you want to steer the conversation towards certain agenda and make sure that you mention certain things. What is the agenda that you're steering yourself in the first date?
I don't know. I mean, to me it would just come naturally, but I think it would just come naturally in the moment. But I don't know. Are you prescribing any specific agenda?
Yes,
Okay, so
you,
what agenda do you think you would prescribe to
you
bring up?
have to make sure that she understands how wealthy you are and how strong you are and how influential you are and how a man of her word you are.
Okay, that's good advice. I was just gonna say, Michael, in terms of you thinking I'm Jewish, I think like a Jew, if that makes sense. I think I have a very, very skeptical attitude. I think I have a critical thinking attitude, which Jews have.
Well, I just know you don't talk about Jesus all the time, so I mean, I don't, you know. But I was just surprised because when you said that, you wouldn't marry a Jewish girl. I don't know. I married a Jewish girl, so
Oh, you did?
yeah. I mean, she's a Christian, but she's so according to Jacob, our marriage doesn't count or something. But
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna think, Kirk, don't say those kinds of things. I think I X like and Y is a terrible statement to form for any variable. Yeah, fair enough. Um, I think wait, I think I X like and Y. I don't know what that means. Kirk, you used the broad sense of the what whoa. Okay.
I can tell you if you want to go to a mega church, I can tell you the mega church dating strategy. I think this is probably the best way to do it to avoid the dating apps. All right, so I'm assuming they have some pretty mega-ish churches near there, right? You're in the South, so do they got some flashy ones, Kirk?
In Mississippi, I think
Yeah.
so. I'd have to look around, but I think so. Yeah. I see you're toggling with the face cameras.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, so I'm just gonna this so people can. So this is the thing. So if it's a big church and you got multiple services, like that's really good because then you get there at the first service, you stay there, see who's there, where the girls are. You look for any of the girls that stay for more than one service. They're serious, so that's one way they're good. Because then you can they're really serious about the God thing at least, and that's a good quality to have. Then there's always stuff that they need you to do in these churches. Like if I play guitar. That's a very that's pretty high up there on the status hierarchy. So that was like my wife basically just peeled me off the top. That's how that one goes. But there's other things you do where they have all the lights and things. You can do PowerPoint. You say you want to help out and you want to serve, and you'll get an opportunity, and then you will just be working with these girls that are also volunteering and helping and stuff, and then you just have all these little opportunities to take charge and show leadership, and you just volunteer for doing stuff, and you just say, I can do that. And if anybody asks does anybody know how to do this, you just say, I know how to do that. Even if you don't know, you just say you know how to do it, and then you figure out over the weekend or whatever how to do it. Just pretend like because they don't know how to do it either. So, and then you get into in charge of stuff, and you look really impressive, and then they will let you know. They will let you know who's interested in Cool Man Kirk. So
yeah. So basically, fake it until you make it.
yeah, something like that. But you're also big, yeah. And you do make it. You become.
Practice before you fake it. I mean, if you're going to do some volunteer work, should be something like that you have done before, that you have volunteered before. Shouldn't be your first time.
Yeah. So I guess like volunteering at well, I wonder what kind of volunteering opportunities there are in Mississippi. Part of the reason I think is that I want to move out of Mississippi because there would be more people and more life opportunities in general out of this state.
maybe so. I mean, because you're 18 now, so I mean, the thing is, I mean, you got a little bit of time probably when you're between now and when you're ready to go out on your own and have your own home and all that stuff. So, I think it's good to have some foundation of friendship and stuff, and if not, it's it's just a good experience. Like I don't know, like you can do dates, or it's good to do. If you're actually interested in a girl in a romantic way, you should ask her on a date. Don't do the like just the once you figure that out, that's what you should do. And then if it doesn't go good or whatever, you still like those are valuable learning experiences.
Yeah,
But
I believe it was Wayne Gretzky who said 100% of the shots you don't take, you won't make, or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
100% of the dates you don't ask won't go out with you about. I mean, some girls will ask you out, but that's so rare that it's essentially zero.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. So, and that this is the thing where now like all the guys are afraid of like being accused of like um, I don't know, doing something creepy, so they don't ask and stuff. But yeah, it's good. It's good to ask. Put yourself out there, because even if it's no, if it doesn't go good, you want to figure that out as soon as possible. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Hezzy's mentioning in the chat Christians are no heads too. Unitarian circles may be more relevant. I think I'm willing to date a girl who I have difference of religions just because there's so few actual like Noahides. But yeah, I'd be willing to marry a Unitarian or a Trinitarian girl. Yeah, I guess I'll consider looking to megachurch. It's just part of it is also I also before I start going on dates, I want to have some level of economic stability. So like first I would like to like study for a couple years in college. First I'd like to get a job down. So just give me a couple years.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that is good about this is if you get into some sort of a community, you get to know people like so. Well, yeah. If you wanted to go to you could go to a Bible college. That's a really good place because the only reason the women are there is to get married. But and you get to learn about the Bible, which you like. So that's that might be a good option. But the good thing about if you're in somewhat of a community and you're getting to know girls in like if a space where there's not pressure, because you are still in school or you're still figuring things out, they're not going to expect you to have your act all together. Like this is like the way you're supposed to do it. That you get it's the difference between a cornerstone marriage and a capstone marriage. So now everybody wants a capstone marriage. You're supposed to get your life figured out, your partner gets her life figured out, and then you guys get married as like you're bringing two complete lives together. But if it's the cornerstone, you're just starting out. You start out together. You get married earlier. You figure all that stuff out. It's because it's okay then to be living in a cheap apartment. She knows your economic situation is going to improve with time, and you get in on the ground floor, I guess you could say. So that's the good way you're supposed to do it if you can. It's the way that like made civilization work better than the way we're doing it now. So
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is all good advice. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, it'll take me a little bit. I'm getting used to being an adult. This is my first day, so
yeah.
when you were 18, did you have sort of like a career plan? Like, were you considering the type of things that I'm considering now?
No, I just thought I was supposed to do stuff for Jesus, which was terrible because I didn't learn how to make any money until I was like 30 years old. So my life went on a weird direction. So knowing how to earn money is an important thing. Like, but my father did the same thing, so that's why like he was a pastor, and we never had much money growing up, and so it was. I don't know. I mean, it all worked out for me. I can't complain. I love my life, and everything is great. And we got our fourth child on the way, and we got a house and everything's going great. So, it doesn't always have to go. Everything doesn't have to go according to a certain plan, but I guess the more focused you are on future things, the better. The better.
Yeah. I'm just sorry. I'm just reading chat real quick. No, but I do. If you get involved till you'll find yourself committed to paralyzed because you value commitment too much. Yeah, I mean, this is all good advice. I would like to see if Hezi would like to come on because I haven't seen him in a while. If I may steer the subject, you
Hezi recommends Unitarian circles. If Sam happens to have a daughter, I would be interested.
Yeah, I might have to ask Sam for permission on that one.
I think his kids are like my age, so like 7 or something. So
yes. Okay, so between 7 and 18, there's a difference of 10 years. Of course, you have to wait till you're 30, but that's normal.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't start asking now.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Also, if I may steer the subject, Yoav, have you in your years, do you notice? Is there a specific tradition that Jews have for beginning to date? Like, did you have a shidduch? I believe is the term shidduch. Like, did you have any of that growing up?
Well, it doesn't happen in my circles at all, except it happened by chance. There was a thing called the British Olim Society Kabbalat Shabbat Party.
The British what?
British Olim Society Kabbalat Shabbat Party.
Okay.
Let's parse it. British Olim. Olim are people who are immigrated from Britain to Israel. Okay? British Olim Party, so they have a party. What party? Kabbalat Shabbat. They have a party for the coming Saturday. Okay? So it's something that's by the sound of it semi-traditional or semi-religious. I never knew it existed. I don't know how many such parties ever existed. But one of the rare occasions in which such an event happened, I happened into such a party. And it was sort of a shidduch because I was recommended to go to a friend of mother, blah, blah, blah. There was a kind of convoluted story. And that party is where I found my wife. Now, following what Mr. Sartori said, you have to show competence. What happened in that party was that the ventilator was broken. So it was a chance for me to demonstrate my engineering skill and fix the ventilator, which was crucial on a Tel Aviv summer evening. And once I've done that, I could set my sights on the girls in the party. So to answer the question, shidduch doesn't happen in my society at all, except when it does. Okay. Occasionally, people unofficially, there are people who are matchmakers by nature, and whatever society they will live in, they will try their best to matchmake, but whatever way they can.
Yeah. So yeah, so Shidduch, to my understanding, is that that's just a Jewish matchmaker, and is that like I've heard? It's common in Hasidic and Haredi circles, or is it just the Orthodox in general? Or
I guess it does. I don't know.
okay,
Yeah.
Claire, I've never gonna convert to Islam under any circumstances ever. Also, I don't think Christianity is less noahide than Hinduism. Claire is an interesting fellow. I'll give her that.
Yeah, I like the conversation with her because because it's interesting. I mean, she's not stupid. There's always a chance that I will learn something new.
All right. I think I got to end things 'cause my kids are
Okay.
home. So,
See you
Anybody?
guys in the future.
happy birthday, Kirk.
Thank you. See y'all later.
See ya.